Hello and welcome back to my channel. And finally, the prelims is over. And uh, honestly, I could not sleep the night before prelims. I was traveling. Also, I slept for around 2 or 3 hours, most probably. And in those dreams, also, I could just like remember the environmental conventions I read a night before, and I remember the final lab document which I was going through. So there was a lot of chaos in my mind. But then the day arrived. I went to the center at around 8:30, 8:40ish, and then entered the exam room. So at that time I was mostly chill. I was kind of meditating because I was uh, I was rechanting the mantra Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmate Radha Kleshnashaya Govindaya Namo Namah. So only this mantra was going on all over my mind, and until it was 9:20. So at 9:20, the examiner started distributing the sheets, and we were all uh, half-assidely filling up the roll numbers, making sure that nobody fills in incorrect roll number, because there have been many instances where people like screw their OMR sheet. So I was very vigilant that I need to first focus upon filling my OMR and my roll number very correctly. So I made sure that I was very focused on that. Then came the exam, and then came the actual exams. Like on at around 9:25, they distributed us the exam papers, but they said that don't open it. So you can't flip it up. So the paper was lying just around 2-3 inches away from my eyes, and I could not open it. I was just trying to absorb that feeling that okay, the paper is now on. I need to be focused. I need to be alert. Even though I've not slept for around the whole night, I didn't sleep. I was up from 7 a.m. Also, I slept from 6 to 7, but after that, I could not naturally fall into sleep. So I was up. So at that time, I was on my alert mode because of coffee, dark chocolate, and protein shake. So that literally helped you guys. So I just focus on the paper now. So those 5 minutes were were really very long. That at that time I was trying to rechant the mantra again and again, again and again. But the thing is, when you rechant or when you like utter something again and again, there's some kind of anxiety which builds upon you. Even though it's a mantra, even though it's like you're just trying to calm yourself, but some kind of anxiety builds up. So I just tried to calm my nerves. I started smiling. Started smiling. The invigilator was seeing me, and she was like, "What? Are you mad or what?" Like I could see it from her eyes. She didn't say those words to me, but I could see. So I started smiling, and then came that bell, the bell to start the paper. I flipped the paper. I saw some familiar terms. Like I took around 2 or 3 minutes for just flipping the paper, and I saw familiar terms, so my smile just widened. It was a very broad smile. So as I saw few terms opening up, I saw Kavach. Okay, I have read it in the newspaper. I saw D Gukesh. Okay, the fight world championship. Okay, then I saw some other familiar terms. I saw polity. That smile just widened. But when I started solving the paper, that widened smile eventually started to shrink, and in about 15 to 30 minutes, I was like, the paper is really tough. The paper really got on my nerves. And at that time, I was trying to figure out, okay, so there are so many options. When you just flip on the paper, when you have a very casual attitude towards that paper, you will feel like that, okay, you know all these terms, you might have read it. Like there are terms from international relations, everything. But that paper was really tough. And uh, like I started the paper, the broad range of subjects which I've covered. Like I covered international relations, also I covered environment this time. I covered art and ancient medieval art and culture as well, which I've left in the previous attempt. But this time I've covered these three subjects very holistically. But the thing is, in international relations, they asked the questions which was way beyond what I read. So I remember in one of my videos I've also discussed Lake Tanganyika, but that was one of the options, but I could not remember that lagoon, which they mentioned in one of the options. So that's why I could not attempt that question. Then about the country surrounding Andes, I typically remember that I have plotted it, I have done it in one of my videos. But in that moment of like pressure, I was confused in Paraguay. I was confused in like one of the options, other options, and I filtered out two or three options, and I arrived to two. But in that moment, that decision making capability just tries to like it lowers down, it filters down. So that was about my attempt of the paper. Like there were few easy questions as well. As I remember the self-respect movement by Berrier. That was the first question which I read, like while flipping the pages, and that brought a big smile on my face. So there were some easy questions as well. The economy was fairly good because I had read economy a week before. So I had my hands up on economy. Also there were some questions like very conceptual for those you cannot mark up economy like that. I remember solving the questions for revenue deficit, fiscal deficit, but there was another question, like there were two questions related to the same topic. So I attempted one, I left the other one because, uh, overthinking just takes you down at that point of time. So that was about my prelims. Uh, uh, when I came out of the paper, I was literally SpongeBob trying to breathe in somewhere because those 120 minutes were kind of battle. Like it was a great battle. The paper was too close to 2024. 2024 was, I remember 2024 is now very easy because these were the topics which you have actually seen in the previous year questions, and those some of the questions repeated, but this time quality actually took us aback. So prelims is finally over. What next now? So how was the exam? There have been many speculations about the examination. Some say that it was easy. I remember there was a YouTube. I was like in that 3 hours of break from 11:30 to uh, about 2:30, but it's mostly till 2 because we have to reach before 2 in the examination hall. So for that 2.5 hours of break, I remember I was in one of the cafe with my father, and on our table across from our table, there were two students who were trying to say that the paper was easy. I was like, okay, there might be some few exceptions who might have studied very well, but I could definitely vouch for the fact that for the hours I've spent in this preparation and for the amount of subjects and the depth of subjects which I've read, I could not say that. I'm not saying that I am a very meritorious student who has read everything and knows everything, but it was a tough paper. You cannot deny the fact that it is tough, and eventually, in that situation of pressure, it becomes tougher. So it was definitely not easy. It was definitely not moderate as well because 2024 paper you could say that it is okay on the level of moderate to easy. But this, according to me, was at par with 2023 paper. Or I have not given 2023, so I would just give an edge that 2025 was actually tougher than 2023. So just from my perspective, uh, I don't claim that maybe I am the only one who's correct, but I know there have been people who are more experienced than me. There are much more experienced faculty members of different coachings who have had seen the range of difficulties which UPSC papers have showcased over a period of time. But as a student who has like prepared for quite some time, around 2 years mostly, so I think that this paper was tougher on 2023 from 2023 or maybe at par with 2023, but this was definitely a tough nut to crack. Then there have been many speculations about the cutoff. People literally can't keep calm even after exam. I remember while walking down the stairs of that government building where our examination was conducted, people were literally over the stairs and asking us, so what do you think? What will the cutoff? How many questions did you attempt? What was your strike rate? And like there was a lot of chaos. Some people were literally very calm and some were haphazard, some were very chaotic. So there have been many, also the YouTube channels, I tell you, every other YouTube channel, or even when you just open the YouTube app, on your browse page, you would see different people, different channels, just trying to speculate the cutoff, just trying to give their opinion. Dude, it's just half an hour past the examination. Please, please give people some time, because this is a very technically growing generation. We're technically emergent ones, and we're so stuck. We're so like habituated to our phones that we check it many times. I would definitely accept that even I checked all of that videos before the CSAT, and but like I made it sure, I made it a point that I won't let it affect my preparation for CSAT. I won't let it affect my mentality for CSAT. So even though I read some of the comments, mostly I could see that people were telling it that the paper was tough. Even the faculty members of different coachings were claiming that the paper was tough. So it was a relief that okay, it's not just tough for me; it was tough for everybody. And honestly, tough papers are good, because if the paper is tough, the cutoff will go lower. That's what I have experienced from like when I gave JE. So when I gave JE in 2017 for the first time, that was the very first time when the paper's cutoff went so low as to 81. The cutoff hasn't ever fell below 100 in up till 2017. But in 2017, the cutoff went past 80, like it was 81. So you cannot definitely predict the cutoff, because you have to take into consideration many factors which come into play. So all the coachings, I know they are more experienced, I know they have had considered many options, many different variables, but I don't think so we could actually predict the cutoff, or we could actually predict how we have performed. Because I remember, even though I've ticked the questions which I've attempted, but when I just like hover over the paper once again, I see there's a very peripheral view that okay, I have attempted it or not, or did I just mark it in my paper? So in that moment, I marked around many questions then and there, but when you try to fill it up in the OMR sheet, it basically like there is some sort of divergence. So I would just tell everybody, please, please stop speculating about the cutoff. There's a lot more chaos going on in everybody else's mind. So don't, please don't, please stop speculating about the cutoffs. So now, what next? What about the mains preparation? So should we just get done with it? Should I just leave it, or should I prepare for mains? Because honestly, even the answer keys are not even close to what the UPSC is setting the answers. We've seen the divergence in the answer keys made by coaching institutes, and what all questions like were considered as answers in 2024 examination. So the thing is, you cannot basically predict what would UPSC keep as the answer and what it wouldn't. So you can basically check your answers, but I don't think so. That would be a very clear reflection of anybody being like getting selected. If you have scored, like if you're truly sure that you are scoring around 120, 130, then definitely you are going to score in the cutoff, official cutoff as well. So if that's the case, definitely you should prepare. And I won't say that if you're scoring less, so you don't prepare. Even if you're scoring less, maybe you have some chances. So like there are many options. Should we prepare? Should we not? Or should we just move on from this examination cycle? I know this cycle is very vicious. I have felt it. I've been feeling it for quite some time. But the thing is, I don't know what the future holds for us. I don't know what the future basically wants from us, what it wants us to become, or what the universe wants us to become. But the one thing I'm definitely sure is that from Bhagwad Gita, chapter 2, verse 47, which is कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफल हेतुर्भुर्मा te sangoshtav karmani. What it basically means is that you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you're not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the result of your activities and never be attached to not doing your duty. Just give it your 100% to everything you do. And even after all your hard work, you don't get the desired result. Don't indulge in grief and regret, as there are several factors which come into play to manifest a thought or desire. So, control your senses. And what Sri Krishna says to Arjun is that perform your duty equipoised, O Arjun, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Shri Krishna emphasized on the balance of emotions. One who knows his boundaries and withdraws his senses from happiness and despair is in the perfect consciousness. So, this is what I have learned from this shlok of Gita, and I would definitely give it a try. Definitely, I would try to inculcate it in my pursuits and in my experience of this very examination cycle. So, to everybody who's listening this, to everybody who don't know what the future holds for them, or who don't know if you're clearing the cutoff or not, who is just apprehensive of their chances in this cycle, I would say just chin up, champion. You got this. You are a Raichu in making. Yeah, even though you're Pikachu right now, you still hold that potential to become a Raichu. So I would definitely reroute, because even though we just navigate through Google Maps, and even though we don't take the directions of Google Maps, it basically reroutes to that very destination. So even though we are just deviated right now, even though the path is very far and you cannot see it, just reroute and move back to the grind, back to the grind. And for me, the means is still on. For me, it's still, I'm still in the game. I would still consider myself to be in the game, and even if I don't, this knowledge won't leave me, or this knowledge won't disappear or vanish in thin air from my brain. It will stay, right? So the mains is on, and so does the grind. So see you guys in the next videos where we just hop up into mains, and thank you for watching. Bye.